Whoa. No one saw that. Well, hello, you two. Whoa, God, I almost fell again. Spazie coming at you, and Planty, obviously. Now, this little guy has actually made it 4 weeks? 4 weeks without any nutrition, any water, or any social interaction. This guy is a trooper. Either way, today we're gonna talk about Caitlyn. Some of you guys have requested a guide on her, so here it comes. I hope you enjoy. We're gonna do what we always do. We're gonna go through the runes, the masteries, and everything you need to know how to play Caitlyn like a boss. And Planty is gonna be by my side the entire time, because I bloody missed him, and I missed you guys. Here comes the video. Let's go. The tempo is insane. Gotta cool down. Have a sip of my coffee. Caitlyn's passive is called Headshot, or Headshot. Not sure I can do that Counter-Strike voice. Every 8 basic attack, Caitlyn fires a headshot, dealing either 150% damage to a champion or 250% damage to a minion. If you land an auto attack while in a brush, then it will count as 2, and you can see that on the stack buff at the bottom of your screen. We're gonna go through the uses of this later in the video. It's very useful for either controlling the lane or grabbing buffs in the jungle, but more on that later. Her Q is called Pilt Over Pacemaker. Caitlyn revs her rifle for 1 second. Revs, by the way, is that what you say? Revs? The English language. She channels for 1 second basically to fire a penetrating shot that deals physical damage, and that's on a 1.3 per attack damage scaling. However, it deals 10% less damage to subsequent targets, down to a minimum of 50%. Think of this as an Ashe volley, but instead of being a spread attack, it's centered into one line, and thus it deals huge damage if you only hit one champion with it. You can use this for poking, you can use this for last hitting, you can use this for hitting enemies that are in the brush that you can't see. So it's a great ability and you should master it. Her W is called Yordle Snap Trap. Love that name. Caitlyn sets up 3 traps to find sneaky Yordles, which trigger on champions. When sprung, the trap immobilizes the target, reveals them for a short duration, and deals magic damage over 1.5 seconds. This beautiful ability has many uses, and when you've mastered them all, you will definitely set yourself away from the pack of the Caitlyn players. I will go through some of the uses later in the video. And Caitlyn's E is called 90 caliber net. Caitlyn fires a net to slow her targets by 50% for 1 to 2 seconds depending on the skill level. This deals magic damage and will knock Caitlyn backwards, and you can use this defensively, which is what you will most of the time do, or you can use it offensively to chase down an opponent, but more importantly you can actually use it to jump over walls, and that's something you're gonna want to master as well. Time for the ultimate ace in the hole. Caitlyn takes time to line up the perfect shot, dealing physical damage plus 2 per attack damage scaling, which is great at 1600 note to 2200 depending on skill level range. And most people know that they can step into the line of sight of this shot and take the hit for the ally if they want to. And every single time it happens, something inside me just wakes up and I suddenly feel the urge to go, "Oh, that shot was about to hit and kill him!" Featured the angry nerd in the video? Check, let's move on. I usually grab a first point in W, then I max my Q, and then I max out E for the cooldowns, and then I just grab the last points in W and maxing the ultimate whenever it is up. For them runes, I am still very comfortable rocking my armor penetration marks, attack speed seals and glyphs, and physical damage flat quintessences for some great attack speed, some help with last hitting, and some great damage output overall. You know, that's what it's all about. Lately I have been switching out my masteries ever so slightly though. I've been starting to not like Havoc as much as I like Vampirism, and I really like getting that veteran scars in the defensive tree. So we're looking at a 21-9-0 build, not grabbing Havoc, and of course specking for whatever summoner I bring. If it's Exhaust, then yeah, of course I'll spec into that, and if it's Cleanse or Heal or something like that, I'll go ahead and grab that in the defensive tree. Now if I'm grabbing a solo lane with her, I usually start off with boots and health pots, and that's also what I start with if I have a support that can't sustain me. Otherwise the Doran's Blade is your friend, guys. I upgrade the boots to Berserker Greaves, and then I build my first major damage item, which almost always is Infinity Edge. Due to the fact that Caitlyn has such a long auto attack range compared to like Vayne, for instance, I usually feel like the Infinity Edge is a stronger pick than the Bloodthirster, so I end up building her kinda like I build Ashe, getting a pair of Phantom Dancers next, and then Last Whisper for the same damage. Now somewhere in between these items though, I would recommend you guys to get some lifesteal. Either just getting a scepter that you can upgrade to a bloodthirster if you get to the late game, but sometimes you have to invest in this sustain even earlier. Like for instance, if you have a support that cannot sustain you at all, and you're up against for instance a Soraka that can out-sustain almost anyone, then you should definitely get that Wriggles. I usually get that Wriggles build as first item, and you might have to because you don't want to slack behind on CS, and you want to keep your gold preferably ahead of the other AD. Now this is usually not possible if you can't match the sustain from the other team. So again, if you're having troubles, get a couple of Dorans, get a fast Wriggles Lantern, and you should be able to catch up, and then build your major damage items. If you feel that you have trouble positioning yourself in team fights, or you cannot get supported well enough from your team, then definitely get some defensive items, and there I would recommend, well, the same I recommend for almost all AD carries, which is a Banshee's Veil, great item, Guardian Angel, also a great item, and the Quicksilvery Slashy Dashy. Is it Slash or Sash? I always forget. It's Sash, isn't it? Let's go with Sash. And don't forget them elixirs if you get to the insane late game and want to pump up that extra bit of damage. Let's start off by talking a little bit about the W, the Yordle Snap Trap. I don't know why I'm saying that accent though, it just seems to make sense in a way. At level 1 I usually grab a point in it and just go around and pre-place them a little bit around the map. Now there are several potential locations you might want to place them down at. If I don't have anything to grab in the jungle and I have the time to place them down, I might put all 3 of them in mid, just to give the AP some extra zoning and help him out with some easy first harassment. If you fear a jungle invasion at level 1 though, then you're probably better off placing down supportive snap traps for your jungler. Assuming you're playing as a purple team, here are some suggestions for protecting a jungler that starts with the southern camps. And here if he starts in the north camps of the jungle. A rule of thumb here is to try and place them in the beginning of brushes where you think the enemies will pass through, because that makes it impossible for them to dodge them and you will spot them if they try and invade. While laning with Caitlyn, you should always try and abuse the fact that you have the longest early level auto attack range in the game. Mastering how to harass with your auto attacks and using that in combination with your Q and your passive headshot, and you will be a huge annoyance in lane. In League of Legends, a character that is locked onto auto-attacking you is indicated by a golden outline of the entire character or minion. In the delicate back and forth game on bottom lane, this is usually used as an indication of what your enemy's next move is gonna be. After a couple of games, you will start getting a feel of how long your character's attack range really is. In order to prevent the enemy from knowing that you are gonna attack them, try and walk just as close as you need in order to land an auto attack, and then click the enemy. For instance, if your passive is up and you want to land it on an enemy, click right next to the enemy in order to walk up to him and then land the auto attack as soon as you're in range. This will help you since it will completely disable the indication that you are going in for a couple of auto attacks. I feel like Caitlyn's Q actually scales off a bit late game, but in the early to mid game, that's where it really shines, and it can deal tons of damage if you manage to hit it on one target, and thus that is what you want to aim for. Now since it is a skill shot, what you want to try and do preferably is to wait for some allied CC to lock the enemy down before you hit them. That way you will secure that huge amount of damage. In this clip we've just been ganked by Lee Sin, and now Poppy's coming in from the counter gank through the river. I'm gonna be cool here and wait for Poppy's heroic charge to hit someone into the wall and stun them before I charge up my Q, and thus we bring down Sona with ease, and this is probably what you want to do. You want to try and be a bit cool, try and predict what's gonna happen, and then make sure you hit your Q, especially in the mid game where it really counts. One thing you should start and try to master straight away when picking up Caitlyn is to learn how to drop down the snap traps in mid-fight. If you utilize this correctly, you can also use the stun to secure the damage from Piltover Peacemaker. Here Skarner is flashing for Soraka. I start off by dropping the trap so he cannot run away, and when he's stunned I land my Q in order to secure that damage, then I drop down my ultimate and Wukong is gonna get in there and mop them both up. It takes some practice to not think of the traps as something passive you use before or after a fight. In this clip I'm trying to predict where Sona is going to end up when she's running away from Poppy. Unfortunately Poppy's heroic charge there makes Caitlyn get stunned instead, but it's all good since I can kill Sona with my Piltover Peacemaker and I can do enough damage to Caitlyn that Dudu is actually going to go overload there and flash in and get some damage, and Poppy can clean up that kill. So again, try and get those traps in there even though you're in mid-fight. It is always worth it. Mastering your E, the 19 caliber net, is also an important part of becoming a skillful Caitlyn player. You can jump over walls and stuff with it, which is pretty cool. And if you're trying to run away with it, try and hit the actual target with the projectile as well, because that will secure your escape even more, since it does do a substantial slow to the enemy. The fact that you can get away quite easily with this makes it fun to do some kind of aggressive stuff. And here I'm running away from 3 of the enemies, and Lee Sin is gonna go for me, but I'm just gonna use my 19 caliber net, and Nunu there, a bit overkill again, dropping down the ultimate. I don't know what he's doing. I'm just guessing it's a bad player or something. I'm sorry, PSP, you're really cool. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Now let's get on with the guide, shall we? Before wrapping this guide up, let's talk a little bit about Ace in the Hole, the ultimate. Now, I want to talk a little bit about it since it isn't always necessarily a finisher, and it isn't always just a very satisfying way of stealing kills from your teammates. Yes!
Oh, you steal.
Satisfaction. But it's actually also something that you could consider just a secure damage dealing ability, basically, because if you lock it onto someone, it's gonna hit, and someone is gonna take that damage. Now, if it's not the target you hope for, then the ally. And in some situations, it might be useful to just use it for the heck of it. Like here, for instance, we are gonna dive with Poppy here. I do get a little lucky with my Q there hitting Caitlyn, and then I'm just following that up straight away with my ultimate, just to make the dive an easy breeze. A breeze that you can enjoy and talk about over a cup of tea or coffee. I'm getting sidetracked, let's move on. In this final clip, we are very confident in another dive, and I'm just standing in, abusing the long range of Caitlyn, starting off with an ultimate there on Sona, taking her to half health, getting Caitlyn down to half health with my Pillar of a Peacemaker and my auto attacks, and Wukong just goes in there and whirlwinds them to death. Easy mode, Luna, easy mode. And then we can just safely pick up Dr. Mundo. He doesn't go where he pleases, not when we're around at least. And that is basically it for my guide to Caitlyn. I hope you enjoy this. If you did, feel free to hit that like button on the left side of your screen. It really helps me out. Planty, do you have any suggestions for comments this week? What? I can't say. Planty wants me to say that if you want to know what color my underwear is, feel free to ask that in the comment. You happy? If you want to make sure that you don't miss the next guide coming out, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Another cool thing you can do with your new YouTube page is that you can click see all at your subscriptions. You can find me in that list, and then you can click the little pin thingy symbol right there. And if you do that, I will actually end up on the front page, so you can easily click me and check out my latest news and my newsletters and everything that I publish. And that's basically it. Until next time, this has been Spazie, and I am out. Do it!